8.
You're watching the Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Everybody, and welcome. It is time for Talk and Shop. Super excited to be able to talk to you guys today. We've got some amazing guests. Friend of the show, Dirk Manning, is going to be on today, and someone you've never gotten to talk to probably directly, Tyler Main. So make sure you get all your questions together, because not only they made a really incredibly good graphic novel that's going to be available, they also have been in some of your favorite films. So stick around. It's gonna be hot, y'all. If you guys are in any of the country that is now becoming a frozen popsicle, which is everyone but Florida, hi and welcome. And you guys in Florida, I will be seeing you later, I guess, because I need to warm up again. I see that Triple B is here and Cool Gamer. Hello, everybody. For everybody that's here, if you can give us some hearts and some thumbs ups and do some sharing, that would be awesome. Get our friends here. I see Kenneth is also here. Hello, hello. Everyone, welcome in Dirk Manning.
Hello, Ms. Jen. How are you?
I'm doing so good. I took it as a personal challenge when you told me that this awesome omnibus of Mercy Sparks had some mystery in it. So I finally found him.
Yes. It's funny that Mercy Sparks omnibus is also cool. It has my only ever published comic book artwork in it.
So which of these pages is your art?
Oh, you'll know it when you see it. It's the scene where Mystery. It's the scene when Mercy's talking to Mystery behind the mirror, and she can't hear him, and he holds up a drawing, and that drawing that he holds up, it's a little bit after that sequence that you're on. That's part of it. Yeah, keep going, and then it's in that issue. He holds up a picture. He's trying to draw. Yeah. So I had to draw it with a Sharpie because he has a Sharpie. So that is my only ever published comic book art. Was in I think that was Mercy Sparks issue 7.
That's awesome.
And yeah, with the because 6 and 7 with a 2-part mystery crossover. So people that
you did good with your eyebrows. You got it.
You know, he had to draw it quickly, so I also had to draw it quickly. And of course, there's a meta level to this situation. And again, this story is the mystery crossover in Mercy Sparks omnibus, published by Devil's Due, our former publisher. Yes, right there, that Ms. Jen has at her store. But what happens is there's like a meta aspect to this, because I had to draw something that would make Mercy think it was something else, when also it'd be representational of the giant threat he's trying to communicate.
Okay.
So I kind of had to strike this very interesting balance in all of that.
I just have to ask about this creature that looks like it's humping his leg.
Yeah, that's I want to say that's from Hack Slash, because there's like several crossovers. There's like Doug Paskevich, some of his characters were in there. Hack Slash had some characters in there. Mystery was in there. Josh Blaylock did a really cool kind of multi-creator crossover in those 2 issues.
This is way cool. I mean, there's some neat stuff in here. I'm one of those people that am late to the Mercy Sparks party, so I'm glad I've got copies of it now.
Yeah, it was fun. I eventually wanted to do a mystery Mercy Sparks crossover, another one that was going to be in like a little Kickstarter bonus book that we did. We never got a chance to get to it. Maybe we will down the road still. You know, I still talk to Josh. We're still cool, as the kids say, despite that I now publish with Short Spike Press. You know, we're all part of the same gang ultimately. But I do have a short story for a mystery Mercy Sparks crossover to kind of even the scales on that I would love to do someday. And it's something that I think specifically would only work with Mercy Sparks, which is why I haven't recycled it yet, but we'll see what happens.
I think that it's interesting the way the comic book world works. People might not know that just because your work appears at one specific company doesn't mean you don't also work for tons of other companies or even have your characters cross over to other companies. I'm kind of thinking of like Garth Ennis's career, where he loves telling war stories.
Yeah.
And some of his stuff touches on other stories from other companies, and he actually, you know, makes that, you know, the reference, asterisk reference, as seen in Avatar.
Right. Well, that's it. You know, and you know, the comic industry is very small, and we all know each other. But you know, I'll always be grateful to Josh Blaylock for being the first one to publish Tales of Mystery. But when he published that, I was still largely working with Image Comics, wrapping up, you know, with Nightmare World. When I talked to Josh about doing Tales of Mystery, I know we're going to talk about Hope. When I took Hope to Source Point, I was still working with Devil's Due on Tales of Mystery. So oftentimes it's a matter of finding the right publisher that's the right fit for the right project. You know, I'll never forget when Josh Blaylock saw of Devil's Due, saw some of the early stuff from Cthulhu Jr. and he goes, "You're gonna make $1 million on this." He goes, "This is incredible." You know, But ultimately, again, that was a book I took to Source Point Press. That was the right fit for that project. So, but yeah, we all know each other. We all get along, and you're exactly right. That's part of it. We're all the same gang. You know, we're all trying to do the same thing.
Isn't it also timing? Like, it might have been a perfect match for the company, but the company also has something else that's in the queue that is too similar, or they, you know, like, oh, we can only do X, you know, superhero titles of any merit in a quarter, and there's just happens to be the third. It has to wait, or you can find it to shop it somewhere else. That's got to be tough to try to decide what to do.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I may have told this story before, but this is probably new to some people. When I showed Travis McIntyre of Source Point Press the first single self-published issue of Hope, he's like, "We don't do superhero stuff at Source Point Press." And I said, "I know, but this is very much a Dirk Manning book." I said, just read it. Tell me what you think. And it was at a convention, and he walks away with the book in his hand. He's like, "Okay." About 20 minutes later, he walks back, and if you know Travis, he does this. You know, he goes,
"Yeah, roll the beard."
I think we can do something with this. And it became their first ever free comic book day book. You know, so
I think my hair's up, so I can't do it today, but I could do a Travis impersonation.
There you go. It's like you're his beautiful
mirror, right? We're both gingers, by the way, if that's why it's so funny.
There you go. That's right.
So, okay, so you kind of uniquely premiered Hope on Free Comic Book Day, which isn't often done. Were you happy about that decision?
Yeah. Travis and Source Point Press and Josh Werner, who's editor-in-chief, really saw the potential for what Kaylin Smith and I were doing with Volume 1, and really wanted to give it a big platform. And we were talking about things like, maybe this is the one where we try to make a run and get it on the cover of previews or something like that. You know, we were really thinking big with this. And Source Point came back and said, "What if we do Free Comic Book Day?" And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So what we ended up doing was, and again, I'm no stranger to giving away my work for free. You know, when you look back, like Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, and even some of the early Love Stories to Die For stuff, that was all online web comics that were free originally. So I had the idea to give everyone the first issue, and not just a sample of the first issue, but we did the whole first issue for free for Free Comic Book Day. Then had the rest of the series be available for solicitation for pre-order after that. I was very, very cool with that. It gave everyone a chance to see the book. You know, an independent superhero comic from a horror guy and someone else that was at the time an online phenomenon known for doing non-superhero stuff as well. I was willing to stake our claim that if you read this first issue for free, not only will store owners see and appreciate it, but readers will come back and want more of it. And that's really proven to be the case with Hope. It's easily Hope Volume 2 has been probably the most requested sequel of anything I've ever done ever. You know, and the response was resounding. I was at a show this weekend, and I have people say, "Hope, I think I saw that somewhere." I said, "Oh yeah, maybe you saw the first issue for Free Comic Book Day." They go, "Oh my gosh, that's it. This is the whole book?" "Yes, it is." "Oh my gosh." And they buy it. I say, oh, the Kickstarter's starting on Halloween for the second volume. You don't have to wait like everyone else. And they're excited. So yeah, I was totally on board with that decision.
So, okay, I have a question for you about that then. Did you already have all the events set that ended up being in issue 1 ahead of that? Or did you make any changes knowing that you had to have a real big hook for Free Comic Book Day to really ensure that your issue 2 would then have people pick it up?
Right. No, I had it all plotted out and stuff like that. The original self-published version of Hope Volume 1 only has a couple minor changes, but now if you pick up the Hope Special Edition trade paperback with this amazing cover that may look especially familiar to fans of your store, Jen, what we did was in the back of the issue, or the back of the volume, I actually put in the couple of pages we cut from the original self-published issue and kind of reformatted a little bit. But I knew coming in, from my history from writing short stories and writing horror, the importance of just catching them at the end of that first issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, to your point, catching again at the end of the second issue, because that's when they would start reading it monthly.
Yeah.
I let the jokes commence. I was going to say, I'd like to think I'm a very dense writer, as in I write things that are dense, and cutting my teeth in short stories for so long, I always know that the power of that hook. And so I had it all laid out that way. I knew. In fact, by the time I had finished Volume 1, I already knew the ending of Volume 2, knowing that the end of Volume 2 needs to then even usurp the very powerful shock ending at the end of Volume 1. And I'm very pleased to say that Sally Scott and I have done that. So I can't wait for people to see Volume 2 now, because we set the bar very high. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm not saying that to be cocky. I mean, the results speak for themselves. When people read Hope, they get knocked on their butt. And I know how important it is now to match that, if not go over it, with Volume 2. And that's what we've done.
Yeah. I think maybe for people to understand the effectiveness of Hope is like, Hope is to superhero tale. It's like almost just superhero adjacent. It's mostly about the human condition, right? It's as much as, like Donny Cates's God Country is about, gods. There's nothing really it's just its setting, but it's like real human impact. Like this is like, it feels like this is the way it would really affect people if this is the way our world looked. Instead of them, it just gets real fantastical, right? Like Gen V, based on The Boys, is amazing, but would we allow that nonsense to go on in real life? I don't know.
Well, I tell people, Hope is not a superhero book. It's a book about a woman who happens to be a superhero. Mm-hmm. And this is not a spoiler, but in the first 5 pages of Volume 1, Hope has to reveal her secret identity to protect her family during a car crash. That's the first 5 pages. The series is about what happens after that, right? When she gets outed, and all the supervillains now know that she has a family. Mm-hmm. And Children's Services gets involved to find out if she's fit to be a mother, and her husband's in a coma, and all these things that happen. So that's that real world aspect you talk about, something that's very very much the crux of the series. It's not about fist fights of people in spandex, which again, there's a place for that. I love Invincible. There's very dynamic stories to be told, and I'm not shaming that genre, but I'm saying that's not what Hope is. Hope, like you said, is very much about the human condition, and it's very much about very adverse struggles through very traumatic events. And not all villains can be punched. That's always kind of been our tagline for the series.
Yeah, because the biggest battle for her definitely is everyone else. That's why we love Walking Dead, not because of zombies, but because of the people that are despicable in them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's even almost a better comparison. It's like Hope is to superheroes what Walking Dead is to zombies. That will become my new tagline. Thank you, Jen. Yet again, Jen King saving the day, everybody.
Woohoo! I'm the idea girl.
I may quote you on that on the back cover. Maybe we'll kind of put that in, and we'll massage that, right?
Perfect. That'll be great. If anyone's watching and has any questions for Dirk, don't feel shy about jumping in. In about 12 more minutes, we'll have Tyler on, and I'll get your question asked. Brad, thank you for putting a question up there. I appreciate it. So you're right now have an active Kickstarter that's getting ready to rumble, and this is for volume 2, which people might have been able to pick up as individual issues. But what makes the Kickstarter stuff something that people will be like, I got to have it?
Yeah. If people go to aheroforhope.com, we're launching the Kickstarter for volume 2 of Hope. This is the first issue, so we make it on comic shops. www.aheroforhope.com. We're going to be live on Kickstarter. And what we're doing with Kickstarter is when I do a Kickstarter for a graphic novel, this is the only time you can get the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover edition of the book. Okay. We make it print to order. You get the hardcover edition, and then we print to order, and then that's it. Along with that, we have a bunch of other cool goals. There's opportunities to be drawn into the book. You can get a really cool exclusive Kickstarter exclusive T-shirt. They'll be made print to order. It says Hope versus Everything. It's kind of a play on the Detroit versus Everyone shirt, because that's from my area, but also very inspirational, right? Very, very, very appropriate. You can be drawn to the book. You can actually be designed to be a superhero ultra character in the pro story in the back. There's an option for that. But the big thing, I think, is the fact that you can get the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover of the book. Also with this campaign, something I've never done before. I was up at the Sourcebrand Press warehouse a couple weeks back, and we found the overage of the volume 1 hardcovers for damages. So now what we're also going to do is there's going to be a very limited amount of the volume 1 hardcovers, which have not been available for about 3 or 4 years now since the original Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. People can still get the trade paperback of volume 1 if they're new. They can get the trade paperback of volume 1 as well as the hardcover of volume 2 if they'd like. But for people that act fast, they can actually get the original Kickstarter exclusive hardcover to volume 1 as well as the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover to volume 2. But that's, I think, our biggest incentive is to get the nice hardcover edition of the book, and you'll get it by supporting the Kickstarter before anybody else. The book is done. It's illustrated. It's written. We just got drawn a couple of the cameos when the campaign ends, and then I'll be writing the pro story during the campaign. We'll work in the people there, and then as well as a reference to a certain comic shop, perhaps, and then out the door it goes, off to the printer to get a quick turnaround to get in everybody's hands.
That's so exciting. So, okay. So as always, everyone's going to ask this. Do you have at the back of your mind a third act?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I was at a convention with Sally Scott this weekend, and she I went to dinner with her family, and she's like, I have to ask, what's going on in volume 3? And I said, I will tell you soon. I'm notorious that people that work with me know 2 things about me. One, I'm very terrible internally pitching something. Even with volume 1 back in the day, it was like, here's the script. Because if I try to tell you that I'm doing a superhero comic, it doesn't really do it justice. So just read the first issue. But yeah, I know where this book is going. Sally Scott doesn't even know yet. So she's asked me, because again, that's the other thing about me. I don't give it away to anyone. I keep it very much under lock and key until it's time. But I did start finally giving Sally some hints where volume 3 is going, and she's like, you got to get this started now. And that's my intent as well, is actually this winter, I have 3 upcoming projects I want to be working on. Tales Mystery Volume 6, obviously. I want to really get that rolling with Austin McKinley. Another project I can't talk about officially yet. Not to be confused with the other major horror project that's already 80 pages in production and drawn. But then Hope Volume 3. And then after that, probably Right or Wrong Volume 2 is going to be my next year's worth of writing. But I'm about, knock on wood, I'm in a good spot right now. I'm actually about 15 months ahead of schedule right now. So I can really start diving into this next wave of stuff. And yeah. Hope Volume 3, we're going to have to outdo Volume 1. Outdo Volume 2, which outdoes Volume 1. So, no pressure.
No pressure at all. So you were what I consider the king of the Kickstarter model. What do you attribute to the success? Like, what draws people in, actually gets them to be excited enough to actually put their money behind it, and then don't do the dreaded like withdraw, like in the last couple of days where people are like, oh, I really didn't mean it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, in a lot of ways, I've grown up, quote unquote, online. This is my 20th anniversary as a published comic book writer. There's people that know me from back in the MySpace days. I try to stay very engaged and honest with everyone about what I have coming out, what's going on with the work, even though when I hide it and like say, oh, by the way, here's the thing I can't talk about yet. But I think the other thing with Kickstarter, along with people just knowing me from social media and knowing what the work I do, is that I really design the Kickstarters in a way to pay it forward to the people that back them. Again, some people, maybe they need to wait until they pick it up from a local comic shop, or they get an Amazon gift card for Christmas or something. That's fine. But people who support my Kickstarters know that the more people that back it, the more everyone gets. Oh, what up, K-pop? Woo-woo. And and they really know that we are going to pay it forward exponentially so. Because here's the thing, when you do stretch goals and things like that, I'm just going to pull back the curtain on Kickstarter real quick. I have a set price, and I am doing everything I can to maintain free shipping in the United States for anything that includes a hardcover. That means the profit margin on a book will be X dollars. Every stretch goal I give cuts away from that very slim profit we have to begin with. But here's the thing. I don't care. I don't care. I would rather pay it forward to the couple hundred people or so, or sometimes thousands of people that are backing the Kickstarter and making it possible to make the book. At the end of the day, the Kickstarter for me is about an opportunity to make the book, pay it forward to everyone, give them a cool Kickstarter exclusive hardcover edition of the book, a bunch of other really cool stuff, get drawn into the book, get some extras, get some signatures, some remarks, some book plates, all that cool stuff. And I think people respond to that well. This isn't a situation where I'm out to bilk anybody. This isn't a situation where I'm out to overly monetize people that enjoy my work. Rather, it's just the opposite. They know we jump in, we support Dirk and his peers and his collaborators on a Kickstarter. You pledge for a book, you end up getting a box, the big box of Dirk, right? All kinds of cool stuff in there. I think that's the reason people respond to the Kickstarters very, very well.
K-pop junkie wants to know if you're going to go to Grand Rapids.
Yes, I am. I will be. Grand Rapids Comic-Con is my last convention on the 20 Years of Terror tour that I've been doing all year. So, yeah, it's going to be.
Hello, Nick.
What up, Nick? Good to see you, sir.
I think Jay asked a question behind the scenes. Whenever you see the EXP making questions, it's usually going to be our producer team. Is there a public domain character you'd like to write a story for? It's a good question.
I mean, I kind of do that already with a lot of the Cthulhu stuff. So, I mean, I think that would be like the cop-out answer would be I do with Cthulhu. I did a Sherlock Holmes story back in the day in Nightmare World that I think is a high mark of short stories I've ever done called While You Sleep, I Destroy Your World. That was fun to do in public domain. Past that, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the type of person that really craves playing with other people's toys. In fact, the only reason that I incorporated the Cthulhu mythos so much into Nightmare World and Tales of Mystery was because here was a pre-existing thing that the author himself encouraged other people to build into the mythos with, that I could have created my own Cthulhu for all intents and purposes. But here's a thing that already exists, so we get to plug into that and grow that world out of that awareness. But I hate to be that guy, but not particularly. There's nothing that really I'm champing at the bit to do that's public domain that I haven't played with already. I mean, there's a couple things where maybe corporately owned characters that if the right situation came up, I would probably throw my hat in the ring on it. I've had a couple close calls about doing some stuff like that. But by and large, I like to focus on doing my own stuff. Like I said, I'm 15 months ahead right now. I'm working with Cheney Entertainment and Ron Cheney. That's pretty amazing. We're doing the London After Midnight adaptation. And then I'm working with another very, 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 very major voice in modern horror on a graphic novel coming up.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't say what yet, but I will be saying it soon. That's really exciting. And then create your own stuff. You know, there's creators like Sally, like Austin, like Les Garner, you know, Josh Ross. There's a number of creators I work with now that, what up, Jordan? That I like doing our stuff. Mariana Piscosta, obviously. I'm really focused on kind of doing the stuff that we're creating right now that's new, rather than contributing to what Alan Moore once called the human centipidification of pop culture.
Man, that is a 50-cent word.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like the idea that we're just eating all the same thing and regurgitating it over and over and over again. You know, like, let's put new stuff out there. Hope treads, you know, treads the line of the superhero stuff, but it's a very new take on superhero storytelling about superheroes. Tales of Mystery. There's 1,000,001 Monster Hunter books out there, but Mystery is a book that deals with like post-traumatic stress disorder in regards to doing that type of work. Things like that. That's the stuff I'm more interested in doing. Even Nightmare World being a horror anthology series, but it's a series where all these standalone stories weave into one big thing. We were one of the first ones to do something to that level. That's what I'm interested in more than, say, Tarzan. I mean, Tarzan's cool, you know, but at this point, this is kind of where my focus is right now.
If you guys want to keep up with when Dirk makes his announcements, I highly recommend getting signed up for his newsletter, because that's where I feel like he honors everyone's time for people that are following him and being willing to sign up for such a thing. Like, that's he gives you the goods first, and then I feel like he goes to social media second, which is kind of nice.
Well, yeah, you know, and people can sign up for my newsletter at dirkmanning.com, www.dirkmanning.com. I send a newsletter out once a month. It's a personal newsletter for me to everyone else, or when I'm launching a Kickstarter. So tomorrow, Halloween Day at 2:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, everyone's going to get a quick email to say, hey, FYI, Kickstarter's live. So if you want one of those Volume 1 hardcovers, or if you want to get drawn to the book or whatever, this is your chance. I love my Facebook, Instagram peeps and all that stuff. You know, my X peeps, like X Twitter peeps, whatever they are now, you know. But yeah, but the newsletter is just a nice direct way to reach out to everyone and stay in touch. And it's interesting now that I've been doing this for years to see like the newsletter subculture rise up again through Substack and things like that. I still do mine independently. It comes directly from my email. You'll get an email from me about www.aheroforhope.com tomorrow at 2:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much for joining us, Dirk. I'm excited for the launch. I'm definitely going to encourage people to go over and grab up that hardcover, because that really is a tough thing to source. And if you want to have it match your hardcovers for Volume 2, then that's the only way to go about it.
Yep, limited number of those. Otherwise, people get the special edition of Volume 1. Thank you, Jen. As always, I really appreciate talking to you and all of you hanging out and watching this. Again, www.heroforhope.com. You can also go there, click the notification, and you'll be notified via Kickstarter once we go live tomorrow as well. So, and join our, hopefully, a stretch goal party very quickly on Halloween. Oh, and everyone who pledges on Halloween gets a free Halloween treat. First day only, Halloween only.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dirk. For everybody that's here, stick around, because Tyler Main is up next.
Yes.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
everybody, and welcome back to Talking Shop here on The Experience. Thanks so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We love it. So I don't waste any of the time that you guys want to totally talk to Tyler. Welcome, Tyler Main.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Everyone was so excited. I don't think I've ever had more pre-show messages come through the comments.
I love it. I love it. So how are you?
I've been doing really good. Are you living in parts of the country that are now becoming giant popsicles?
Well, it's supposed to be pretty soon. Yes. So, but I've been so busy with this Kickstarter. I'm going everywhere. It's crazy. I went to the eye doctor today and they dilated my pupils. So if I look like I'm spaced out and I can't see anything, I'm like, yeah.
You'll be exactly the same because I have my new prescriptions glasses on, which means basically everything is a big fog, which is great. But I look cute in them, so.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's like there's a haze everywhere. It's like, this is great.
Welcome everybody to your late 40s, early 50s. And when you're laughing at us now, when it happens to you, you'll be like, oh yeah.
Exactly, right? Your beards turn gray, your hair falls out. It's great.
Best. You appreciate your parents so much more.
Right?
So what was childhood like for you? Were you inspired by anything that you experienced as a child that make me like, you know what I want to do? I want to be in the entertainment industry.
Oh my gosh. I was a tall, skinny kid, glasses, braces, growing up in Canada, and I was dyslexic, slightly dyslexic. So I was in special reading classes, and there was only me and another kid. That's how small our school was. And so we were the ones that were looked down on or whatever. But we had a white elephant sale at the school to raise money for the school. So everybody would bring stuff that they didn't want anymore. And that's when I first found comic books at like in the 3rd or 4th grade. My very first comic book was Beetle Bailey. And then I got a Boris Karloff, Tom Sawyer. I mean, I got on a collection that day of the widest variety of comic books that you could ever imagine. And I fell in love because I hated reading. So I would try to learn to read because I was trying to teach myself to read. So I'd read a few words and then I'd just get lost, but I'd see the pictures. And it told the story. So I would make up my own stories in my mind, you know, and people go, well, that's not what's happening. It was happening to me, you know? And then I'd finally learn to read and stuff. And then, you know, then down the line, I end up marrying a comic book editor. So we've got comic books everywhere in this house. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
I kind of wondered about that because I talk often to creators about, you know, comic books as literature. And part of the strong points that I try to use a lot when I'm talking to educators is that I felt like the form of comic books are very helpful to people that have struggles in reading, like dyslexia, or there's other common ailments that make it harder for people to follow a long linear line. And so I'm always trying to like point out to them that I think that the encapsulation of small amounts of text actually kind of helps with that problem. Did that help at all for you?
It does. It does, because you only have to focus on a few words. It took me a while to figure out how the bubbles go, but they flow pretty smoothly. But it was not having to focus on a paragraph, full paragraph, and go, I can't read, you know. And then I'd read some, and then I'd look at the picture, and it'd send me in a whole different direction. Some people are visual learners. Some people are, you know, learning through word.
Mm-hmm.
And it is transitioned and driven me to where I am today doing what I'm doing, you know, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely.
You know? It's like, and it's so funny because like I was at the eye doctor and the lady's like, okay, how far down can you read on this? And I start reading and I got some words wrong. And I was like, look at it, lady, I'm slightly dyslexic, so I can read that line. Okay. And she goes, oh, okay. I don't think she's had a 6'7" person tell her to back off and, you know, so, but yeah. So, I mean, it still affects me today a bit, you know, when I get nervous, like when I'm acting, I pre-learn everything. So it's instinct, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And anytime when people hand me new pages and they go, okay, we're shooting this in 2 minutes, I'm like, oh no, we're not.
So does it help for people to like, if someone were to like just read the dialogue out to you, does your memory work auditory? It's like,
yeah.
That
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But it's like, what I kind of learned to do too is put pictures with the words.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm still seeing a cartoon or a comic book as I'm reading it, you know? So yeah,
You almost would do good for just having the thumbnails for the scene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So were you like a theater kid? Did you start acting on the stage, or this happened you straight to film?
Oh no, I was terrified of school and learning and everything like that. Growing up, I used to watch on the weekends in Canada, Stampede Wrestling. I always wanted to be a pro wrestler, right? And being this skinny kid, people go, you're from Saskatoon, you're never going to do that. And so I started, you know, dieting, and I actually in a comic book, there was the Charles Atlas ads and stuff. So I was like, I want to get that. And I got that. And I started working out. And then I went to the gym and started training in martial arts and transitioned, you know, into who I am today. And it's just crazy how it kind of all evolved, you know? So
and wrestling is
but then
very physical, super, super physical, but also you have to have the ability to like know, like everything is, you've got to be able to do the right moves at the right time. It's so related to acting. It's not acting itself per se, but
well, actually it is. It's
physical play.
That is theater in the round, you know, like you're doing theater. You're not trying to hurt your opponent, and everybody's watching you all around, you know? So
spoiler alert, it's not real.
Sorry. But so as a kid, I always wanted to do that. And I went to the Stu Hart in Calgary Stampede Wrestling. Everybody knows about the dungeon. I was in the dungeon. Wow. And transitioned after 11 and a half years of pro wrestling into the film industry. And I was like, okay, I've got to do something so I can give back and help out. And, you know, and it's just my nature. And that's why I started my company. And we're now doing a graphic novel that is dealing with a very serious topic, but it's also, if it helps people learn to read, if it helps people learn about the topic, and it helps deal with the subject at hand and protect some people, I am all for it.
So, okay. So you mentioned your wife.
Yes.
And I'm sure that is like a huge blessing to be able to have somebody in the household that can kind of like walk you through the making of the form of comic, even though you've read them. The making of them is a whole different thing. So how intimately involved is your spouse in the process of making what's going to be happening in this book?
Oh, she is editing it. She was the editor-in-chief of Top Cow Comics for like a decade. And she's been at IDW. She's been at Marvel. She's been at Radical. I mean, she's worked for all of these companies. That's amazing. The whole reason this book has evolved. Because to try and get this project off the ground, it was originally a novel written by my friend John Saunders. I got the book 15 years ago, And I was like, okay, how am I going to turn this into a property? Because it needs to be put out there. And then I needed to modernize it. And we need to expand on the world and everything and just make it bigger to make it more modern. And I was like, okay, who can I call? Who can I call? So I called David Hayter and I called Tom DeSanto from my X-Men days.
Mm-hmm.
And they both heard the pitch and they're like, dude, you got to turn this into a graphic novel or a comic book or something. And I was like, and they both go, well, you know who your wife is, right? She's got the connections. So like, oh, okay. So then I presented her with the idea and she was like, oh, here we go again. Tyler's going on another trip or rant or whatever. But then when she heard how I wanted to do it, and I was coming to her with legit people that I wanted to have her contact. So I was like, she goes, okay, well, like, who would you want to write this? Because you're dyslexic, so you're not going to write this. And I go, well, I would love to team up with Christopher Priest.
Yeah, I mean, picking someone of that caliber ensures amazing writing.
Yes. And she goes, okay, let me make a call. So she calls her old boss and he says, well, I just happened to rep him. So he put us in touch with Christopher and then we started collaborating. And Christopher's like, so what do you want to do with this? And I said, I want to expand this story and I want to make this world bigger, modern, dealing with what's happening in the world today. And I presented ideas to him. He goes, that's never going to happen. And of course, I had articles that were true to life.
Yeah.
So to tell all the people that are watching, I'm talking about The Last Spartan Red Tape, which is a graphic novel written by Christopher Priest. And through our research, we figured we had to make this as real as possible and make it something that would raise awareness to everyone. So imagine Sons of Anarchy meets The Punisher with a human trafficking storyline. Yes, we are talking about human trafficking awareness. And it is a very serious, serious topic. And I've been teaming up with deliverfund.org, who actually has a perk in our Kickstarter, a tier. It's coffee and comics. You can get 12 ounces of their coffee with our graphic novel. So you're helping them put an end to human trafficking. And what they do is help law enforcement with their tactical stuff and all the stuff that they need to put an end to it and help shut down the internet, the bad guys on the internet, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you watch a lot of music on YouTube, but there's a lot of channels that just play specific music. And I sit there and watch just people make random comments in the comment section. And there are predators on there every single time I watch it. Every single time. I'm like, oh my goodness. They're hunting 24/7. Everywhere they can hunt. Gaming, console, games, everywhere. Well, it's important to have
and that's the thing, raise the awareness so that parents can talk more freely with their kids and make them aware of what's actually going on. Even adults, they don't realize who they're talking to sometimes, but like for kids, they'll say, hey, come meet me at the park or come meet me here, come meet me there. And then it's a whole different story we're telling, which is sad. So I figured this book would hopefully be a channel where parents could talk to kids and people would become aware, because most of us don't realize actually that it is a serious topic, because out of sight, out of mind, and it's such a very serious topic that people don't want to think about it affecting their lives. you know?
Yeah, it's an ugly side of society, and you can't avoid something that you don't know how it happens.
Right.
I mean, if you're not aware how people are doing their hunting for your children, and it's equally, people are equally hunted, male and female, so don't think that your male children are safe from this.
Exactly.
It's really important for them to have some base knowledge, and it's important for us to support these organizations that are supporting our men and women in blue that are fighting a real hard fight. It's a tough thing to fight. So, because a lot of times people that have been stolen and are put in there don't want to leave because they're ashamed.
Exactly. And they feel they can't leave because they're belittled into it, and their families are threatened, and there's so many different things. It's like with doing the research and talking to the law enforcement and the first responders, you know, both nurses and people that deal with it, they say if people have been gone and taken for like up to 72 hours or more, it's really hard to get them back psychologically because they've been in such a mind storm of torture, and it's just craziness. But so through this book, I'm hoping we can raise awareness, and I'm hoping that this book can go gangbusters and really huge, and everybody picks up a copy so that we can actually turn it into a TV series or a feature film where we can keep raising awareness and keep growing and helping the community put an end to the human trafficking, because we got to protect the vulnerable. And it's the most powerful it has been today. Look, everybody knows human trafficking has been around since the dawn of time, you know? Yeah. But it is more prevalent today because of the internet. And that is the awareness that we're trying to raise and hopefully open the line of communication between parents and children.
Yeah. What's so cool about the way Mr. Saunders wrote the book, which I think is a 2008 novel, if you guys are trying to go hunt it down, is that the main character is kind of like not super identifiable. Like I don't identify as, you know, a motorcycle guy, but right. I like that they pair him up with somebody that is she's not super soft, but softer edge, in that, I mean, the story it's not a one-sided story. It's really rich.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You know, like Frank Kane is your anti-hero who's getting a second chance at life, and he's trying to straighten out his life. And he's asked by the people who actually gave him his second chance to go find their granddaughter. So he decides to go break his parole and find her and bring her back and save her from all of this. And in his journey, he comes across Amanda Harper, who is a decoy federal agent, who's this little spitfire that's a toughy girl that,
like her,
you know, goes to kick his butt. And he's like, look, you're going to get us both in trouble here. We need to team up. So they end up teaming up, and they both come together and take down this massive cartel. And the story is just, the way Christopher wrote it is, I think about it, I get chills every time.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he didn't pull any punches.
He didn't, you know, I mean, and he was putting stuff in there, and Renee's like, ooh, we gotta think about that, you know, we don't want to offend people, but that's what's happening, you know. So it's a serious topic.
Absolutely. Well, you guys make sure that you support the Kickstarter. I mean, I know that you love his work on film and in TV, and maybe big wrestling fans. But he's asking you now to support this thing he's passionate about. And so you guys, I know that fans, they will show up for these kinds of things if you know that your favorite person is passionate about it. So I definitely say do that.
I greatly appreciate it. You know, I mean, like I appreciate the people that follow me in my big blockbuster films like the X-Men and the Halloweens and the Troys and stuff like that. These little indie projects are the ones where we really need the love to keep it moving forward. So thank you so much for having me on here. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about it. It is like I say, a very serious topic, and I hope everybody perks up a little bit and understands and realize that it's not just sex trafficking too. It's labor trafficking. It's happening in hotels. It's happening in the garment industry. It's happening in all kinds of industries, so it's something that we all have to be aware of, that it's happening all around us.
Absolutely. All right. Would you be game to answering a couple questions that our customers or our viewers, have been throwing out? They're going to be movie related. Is that okay?
Heck yeah, let's go.
All right. If Mike Myers was to fight Sabretooth, who would win? It's an age-old question.
Oh man, I'd be kicking my own butt. So I mean, that's a win-win, isn't it?
They're both, you all win. All of you win if you got to do both of those fights. Oh, here's a fun question. Do you keep in touch with your former partner, Giant Warrior Blade?
I have ran into him a couple of times. It's everybody's living their own lives. I actually ran into him in an airport, I think in the Vegas airport or something. We were both traveling somewhere, and it was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm going home. What are you doing? I'm going to work. Yeah. So it's you run into people every now and again. Yeah.
How was the evolution of Michael Myers between the two movies, and how did you approach portraying the character differently in each film?
Oh, that is a really good question, because like for the first Halloween, I said to Rob, he needs to evolve. Like coming through the asylum, he needs to, be slouching and trudging. And then as he gets out, he's kind of getting his game back. And then when he gets the mask and he puts the mask on, then he's there. And that was the direction for the first film. And I said to Rob, Rob, we need to kick this up a notch, because I don't want to just do the same thing. I don't want to be that guy that's doing a franchise and just doing the same thing. He goes, okay, well, let's make it more vicious. So I'm like, okay. So then that's how the nurse kill came about, and I'm stabbing her like 30 times, and I'm stabbing actually a sandbag, and it was crazy and I'm grunting like crazy because it's not easy to do. Mm-mm. And then he goes, one more, and I just go, wah! And that's where the poster came from for the H2. And that stuck in the film. And then we just magnified everything and just took it as big as we could, but keeping it as real as we could, We just wanted to make him more aggressive. And that's, where the beard came from, where the half mask came from, everything like that. And we created like, I guess you want to call Hobo Myers, which was, so yeah. And then so hopefully they can see the transition from 1 to 2, and then see how it just keeps escalating and getting intensified.
Right. Question from me.
Yes.
Was it a requirement to be from Canada to play Sabretooth?
Apparently it was. No, they actually wanted, they were talking to my ex-tag partner, Kevin Nash. And for some reason, it didn't work out. He was out of shape or something. I don't know. And I'm just kidding. And I had the long blonde hair back then with the Fu Manchu.
Oh, perfect.
And they were talking to me about doing the stunts. And the stunt coordinator was like, yeah, well, there's this 140-foot fall off the top of the Statue of Liberty. Are you cool with that? I'm like, I'd been a wrestler, right? I'd wrestled. And I didn't want to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, can can I think about that? And then he goes and shows my picture to Bryan Singer. And he goes, oh my God, that's Sabretooth. And the next thing I know, I'm having a meeting with Bryan Singer to be Sabretooth. So I rush out to Cinema Secrets in the Valley in California, and I get the fake teeth and I put them in with Polydent and everything. And I go running into his office. I'm like, Sabretooth's here. And, and, but the funny thing is, like, I knock on the door and there's this kid sitting on the edge of the couch, not even like sitting on, he's sitting like on the edge of the couch, just typing. And I say, I'm here to see Mr. Singer. He puts his hand up and goes, just a minute. Types a little more. I'm like, who is this guy? And he looks up and he goes, oh my God, I'm Bryan Singer and you're Sabretooth. And he jumped on the glass table. There was a glass table in the office. I don't know how it didn't break. He jumps up on the glass table and he's so excited. He goes, choke me, choke me. So I go, wow. And that's how I became Sabretooth.
Great story. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's, and then after that, I hung up the wrestling boots. I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to keep doing film and transitioning. And that's why I've developed my own production company, to expand my roles and do other things. And luckily it's been going great. One of my favorite roles is Jupiter's Legacy, Mark Miller's comic book that was on Netflix that we did 8 episodes of.
Season 2 so badly.
Huh? I know, right?
So badly. It was my favorite of all of the I'm going to destroy you superhero things.
I know, but the funny thing is I was on there for a little bit, and like if you read the comic book, Black Star is in and out.
Yep.
And they go, oh, we got to keep this character. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then we were talking about 5 years and all this stuff and how the backstory was going to evolve of how Black Star, and I was like, oh, here we go. But everything is, I guess everything happens for a reason. That's one thing that I've said throughout my whole career, because although I love that character, he's by far my favorite character to date. If anybody hasn't seen it, check it out on Netflix. I shouldn't be saying that now, but it's my favorite character by far, because he is such a badass. I don't know if I can say that.
Sure.
He's such a badass, but then he's got a softer side, and he loves his graphic novel, or he loves his romance novels. And, it's just a quirky character that was developed that is just so, it was just so amazing. And they'd come to me with like 10 or 15 romance novels, and they're like, which one would you like? I'm like, so I got to pick my own romance novel. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. It just is so amazing to get to meet you. We've got the Kickstarter link in the chat so you guys can support that. And I know I've run over a tiny bit, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's been a true joy. And I hope that this Kickstarter funds in no time flat and finds huge success.
Yeah. Thank you. We are funded, but we need to go bigger. So everybody, please grab a book, grab a tier. I would greatly appreciate it so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Everyone stick around. We've got other stuff coming up next on The Experience. See you next time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find